It's been over a month since we last talked about the arrest of Ruby Franke, and since then, a lot has happened. Ruby and Jody have officially been locked up for just over 3 months now, and it seems like that might be the case for a while still. It doesn't look like they have any bail hearings scheduled currently, so it's looking more and more likely that they'll continue to be locked up well into the holidays, and rightfully so. The only hearings that seem to still be ongoing are the custody hearings, but those are kept private. As you guys know, Kevin's lawyer has been very vocal about him wanting to step up and get his kids back, but a lot of people have been side-eyeing him. Last month, body cam footage was released, which showed Kevin trying to press charges against his own daughter Sherry for taking laptops and other electronic items when she was getting stuff for her siblings. He seemed super annoyed in the video, and he was genuinely mad that these cops refused to charge her.
Explain to me again why this was not robbery.
Because it's a civil issue. You guys are family. She's been in the house before. You haven't been in the house in a year. She had interest in the items. She didn't take them with the intention to deprive you of them.
I'll have to do some more research on that.
Doesn't exactly seem like a father who cares about what happens to his children. Sherry is in school. I'm sure she has plans for her career in the future, and something like a burglary charge on her record could destroy her. This body cam footage made a lot of people believe that whatever picture Kevin's lawyer was trying to paint of Kevin being this father who was manipulated wasn't exactly the case. I'm sure Kevin knows that doesn't look good on his part, especially if he's fighting for custody, so he took things a step further. It was reported by KUTV the other day that Kevin had officially filed for divorce from Ruby. Now, KUTV did get their hands on the filings, but a lot of it is being kept private. They reported on the little info that they did have access to and wrote, Kevin Franke, husband of 8Passengers YouTube vlogger Ruby Franke, is filing for divorce and domestic relations injunction, outlining stringent measures to govern the conduct of both parties involved. The petition for divorce is private. The paperwork was filed Wednesday in 4th District Court. The injunction poses several restrictions on the parties to ensure a peaceful and fair proceeding. And I wouldn't exactly say that this news was anything shocking. I'm sure we all pretty much expected to see this happen, especially since they were already living apart and were already having issues. I just really hope, for the sake of the kids, that this is a sign Kevin is finally waking up to how toxic their parenting style was and how much harm it caused. That's really all I can hope for right now, but a lot of people don't think he's suddenly a changed man. Many people think that this is either just standard procedure when your spouse is in jail for something serious and you need to get out before you lose any assets yourself, and others think it's a way to look good in the courts. I would imagine that Kevin is probably trying to get his kids out of state custody, so maybe his attorney advised him that he had to turn on Ruby in order to save himself in all of this. Because let's not forget, Kevin isn't so innocent. Yes, he wasn't around when all of this was going on, but he should have been. If Ruby was keeping the kids from Kevin, he should have been fighting for custody long before it got to this point. Not to mention, Kevin was also deep into connections and even the toxic way they parented pre-connections. Of course, you hate to think about all the siblings being split up in different homes, but after the claim that Ruby tried to make during her first court appearance, I have a feeling this might take a while. Getting a divorce isn't the only thing that Kevin is doing. KUTV reported that Kevin personally asked a lawmaker to put stricter laws in place on who can and who cannot claim to be a life coach. On Jody's website, she lists herself as a life coach, and as far as we know, she has no real qualifications to back up that title. Over the years, long before Ruby even came around, there were numerous complaints against Jody for her so-called life coaching that ends up ruining people's lives and their marriages. Apparently, life coaching is currently unregulated and no prior qualifications are needed to call yourself a life coach, and Kevin wants to change that. KUTV wrote, "The child case against Ruby Franke and Jody Hildebrandt has one lawmaker to believe that the state needs to do a better job overseeing life coaches across Utah. He said Franke's own husband asked him to increase the restrictions on these coaches, claiming the relationship advice she got from her business partner led to the collapse of their family. According to Senator David Hinkins, Ruby Franke's estranged husband Kevin asked him to look into the qualifications one has to pass to become a life coach. As it turns out, there are no qualifications, and Hinken said bad advice from unqualified coaches has been ruining families for a long time. And it sounds like he's trying to get something in place to change that, writing, Hinken said the bill is still in its infancy and that he plans on working with the Utah Division of Professional Licensing while drafting it. He doesn't want the bill to be so strict that it prevents people from giving their family members advice when they're asked to give it. And while I question Kevin's intentions on trying to push for this new bill, I do think this is something that needs to be done. It's so scary how anyone could go online and claim all these fancy made-up titles and attract people who are vulnerable and seeking advice. I don't even want to imagine how many people out there got advice from Ruby and Jody and are still applying these teachings to their own families. I mean, we know they had other clients. How scary is it that something similar could be happening to other families and we wouldn't even know because they're not public figures? Just looking at Jody's website and seeing the amount of books that she's published, trying to give parenting advice and life advice actually makes me feel sick. These books are still up for sale, and it's just so terrifying to think about how many parents are out there that were influenced to be like her. Another thing I find interesting is how come Kevin is so eager to put laws in place on life coaches, but is silent when it comes to family vloggers. This issue was going on long before Connections. Maybe not to the extent we've seen in the last few years, but people have been calling out the Frankies for years prior to Connections. There were multiple petitions going around for years trying to get CPS to investigate them, and the issues went undetected for years because, let's face it, they're a rich Mormon family living in Utah. If Kevin wants to make changes and wants to be a part of the solution, he should be advocating against family vloggers and petitioning for stricter laws and guidelines for these channels. Yes, the life coaching aspect is another huge problem, but the issue was already there long before Jody happened. As for Sherry, there hasn't really been too many updates on her. I'm sure she's dealing with so much right now, but it does look like she might be on better terms with her dad. After it was revealed that Kevin tried to get Sherry charged, I thought that would have been it for their relationship, but she was actually pictured walking into court with Kevin back in October. I know there were a lot of people saying that they wouldn't trust Kevin was trying to actually make changes until they saw him and Sherry reconnect, so hopefully this is a sign that things are going in a better direction. I still have my own personal reservations about him, but for the sake of the kids, let's hope he finally woke up and is actively doing the work to change. Anyways, guys, let me know what you think about everything down below, and I'll see you next time.